This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
It's Wednesday, June 10th. Right now on Good Morning Indiana.
I'm not mad at this mailman.
All caught on camera. The mailman forced to run for his life and the damage caused as he found a safe place to land, while the vehicle's owner had to call police and RTV6 for help.
It's awful. It's like kind of news that you just never want to hear.
It's proving to be a violent year in the Circle City. This morning, what officials say is linked to the violence.
Plus, churches are getting taxpayer help to stay afloat during the coronavirus pandemic. This morning, why many churches say they aren't getting the help they need.
It is 6 o'clock here on your Wednesday morning. Thanks for joining us.
And we want to welcome Raphael to our show this morning. Raphael, I don't know if you've stepped outside yet down there, out of your living room, but Meredith and I have been saying it is so tropical. The breeze is so warm here. Really interesting. Not what we're used to this time of the morning.
Now listen, we are a serious newscast. Why would I leave my air-conditioned living room to see how the weather is? No, but in all seriousness, I did walk outside. It feels okay, but the sunshine is coming up here in Johnson County, coming up throughout central Indiana. But it's a Storm Team 6 alert day, so here come the showers yet again this afternoon, right?
Oh, Todd,
Looks
we
like
do
we're
not
having
have a
some issues.
microphone for Todd there.
I think I stumped Todd with the humidity and the warm weather.
He thought you were just going to take it away, Raphael. But Lauren, you're going to give us a look at traffic here.
That's right. We do want to take a look at our morning commute. And the good news, as Todd has been telling us throughout the morning, is those storm chances aren't until later this afternoon. So your morning commute is dry, and as Raphael said, it's sunny out there. Here's a look right now at I-465 near Rockville Road. You can see the camera bouncing around in the breeze we've been talking about this morning. A stalled vehicle there in the shoulder, but it's not blocking any travel lanes. Traffic's moving along just fine northbound and southbound on 465 on the west side. We'll continue to keep our eyes on your roads throughout the morning. Of course, we'll keep you updated. Raphael?
The time now is 6:02, Lauren, here on Good Morning Indiana, and no one should have to deal with this. A wild moment for a mailman just trying to do his job. Take a look at this. Dogs not on a leash went on the attack, and the postal employee, as you can see, did what he had to do. He jumped on the first thing to keep himself safe. Luckily, he's okay physically, but the truck sustained some damage, which the Postal Service denied. Marcus French showed us his truck back in March. The coronavirus had not peaked, though this story piqued our interest since he was still at odds with the Postal Service and he had video proof.
I'm glad that he was safe and he didn't get bit and he was able to get away from danger. And I did ask him, first thing I said when I came out of the house, "Are you okay? Did you get bit?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm fine," as he was so shook up.
This happened back on September the 9th. When the mailman jumped on his truck, he accidentally left behind several scratches and scuffs on the two-tone custom paint job. Marcus reached out to the Postal Service in hopes of paying for the repairs, totaling more than $4,400. After all, as you can see, he had video proof of the situation. In February, the Postal Service denied his request, blaming the neighbor for being in violation of the city's leash ordinance. At the same time, they also expressed regret for any damages that may have occurred.
Never experienced anything like this in my life.
In April, the Postal Service Indianapolis office confirmed to RTV6 that Marcus had filed a tort claim, saying that he was fully informed of his legal rights. In May, Marcus's insurance company pulled through and paid for his repairs. A few weeks ago, he picked up his vehicle, back in mint condition. So Marcus this morning is very thankful for the outcome. He's also very thankful that that mailman was safe. He was, though, surprised, Lauren and Meredith, that even with the evidence, it took so long to resolve this case. And by the way, leash those dogs. Leash those dogs, because vicious animals can impact your mail service. Meredith?
Deadly violence is a growing problem in Indianapolis. Now city leaders are working to learn what is responsible for the increase in violence and putting plans in place to stop it. Our Alyssa Donovan is live this morning with the details and the startling numbers.
Good morning, Meredith. Since the beginning of the year, there has been 91 homicides in Indianapolis. That's up from the same time last year when we had 64 homicides in that same time span. They're not the statistics anyone wants to see. Families across the city losing mothers, fathers, siblings, and children to violence. We spoke with one woman who received one of those calls. Elizabeth Bird's 15-year-old brother, Peter Lambermont, was shot and killed back in January. Bird sharing these photos with us, saying that the teen just hooked up with the wrong kids. Since then, countless others have been impacted by violence. The city's director of community violence reduction says the pandemic has added another challenge as they're not able to run many of the programs that they typically do and work with people face to face to help curb the violence.
It's always difficult. People think you get used to it. I never do. It hurts me each time like it's brand new, like I've never heard it before.
But she says work is being done within the coming weeks. Several youth and young adult summer programs will resume. A resource fair is also being planned. The goal of that will be to connect people with job opportunities and mental health counselors. And the city is also working to partner with businesses and local organizations to create new programming to help curb the violence in the city. Reporting live, Alyssa Donovan, RTV6.
Alyssa, thank you. Now to the latest on the coronavirus and how it's impacting Hoosier families. The state health official reports 23 new deaths from the virus since this pandemic began. More than 2,100 Hoosiers have died from the virus so far. The Department of Health also confirms 430 new COVID-19 cases. So far, more than 38,000 people in our state have been diagnosed with the coronavirus. And the Indiana Black Expo and the Indiana Department of Health have opened up a new COVID-19 testing site. This is at the headquarters of the Black Expo. That's at 601 North Shortridge Road on the east side. COVID-19 testing will happen daily from 9 a.m. until 7 p.m. through June 30th. You must register before you show up at the testing site. So we have all the information on how you can register in this story on the RTV6 app.
The time now is 6:07 here on Good Morning Indiana, and COVID-19 research is taking place around the world, mostly at universities. But Meredith, some private companies are doing their own studies as well.
Our Kelsey Anderson joins us this morning with what one genetic testing company is finding.
23andMe just released their preliminary data, and what they found was that people with type O blood could be less likely to contract the coronavirus. Here's a look at the data. You can see it isn't by much that people with type O blood aren't contracting the virus. And that's why Dr. Christopher Belcher, Infection Prevention Medical Director at St. Vincent, says this study doesn't mean you are invincible.
We continue to learn new things about this virus, and we're learning more and more who's at risk and how this virus works. Do the simple things. Wear your face mask when you're out to protect others. Wash your hands really well so you don't pick it up. If you're high risk, you should still be at home as much as you can and not around large groups of people.
Dr. Belcher says the 23andMe study is legitimate and compares to studies done in Italy, Spain, and China. More than 750,000 people participated in 23andMe's study after using the company for genetic testing. If you want to take a closer look at this study, we've got it linked for you over on the IndyChannel.com. Just search 23andMe. I'm Kelsey Anderson, RTV6.
All right, thank you, Kelsey. It's a Storm Team 6 alert day. Here's a live look outside right now, and you can still see we have some clouds, a little bit of sunshine breaking through the clouds, but also that haze out there, which is the humidity. And temperatures right now are sitting generally right around 80 degrees in most locations. It is an extremely warm and muggy morning for us, and there's still a bit of a breeze, and we're going to be dealing with windy conditions throughout much of the day. And then we're going to add storm chances into the forecast as we work our way into the afternoon. And you notice just across the state line. In Champaign, Illinois, there's a thunderstorm moving north of there. Our threat for storms probably noon hour through about 5 o'clock, and then as we continue throughout the evening, the threat of storms will diminish. But as these storms do come through, there will be the potential for some of them to be strong to severe. Most of the area under a slight risk of severe weather, but it's an enhanced risk in the brown there for some of you in Peru, as well as Anderson, Muncie, Hartford City, Richmond, and even down in towards the Rushville area. We'll break down the severe threat, let you know what you can expect, and show you the timeline in more detail coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues. The time now is 6:10. We're back in just a couple minutes.
And make the routine remarkable.
The time now is 6:13. More churches in central Indiana are getting taxpayer money through the federal program known as the Paycheck Protection Program, also known as PPP. Lauren?
That's right, and some people are concerned that many churches are not getting the help that they need. So the Rebound Indiana is our commitment to make sure that systems are in place and that they're working to help people get back on their feet.
Call 6 Investigates. Kara Kenny has been digging into this for the past 2 months and joins us now with what's being done to address this disparity.
Under the Paycheck Protection Program, churches can apply for federal loans they don't have to pay back as long as the money is spent on mortgages, utilities, and payroll. Sanders Temple here on the east side applied and got approved. Sanders Temple Church of God in Christ is a good-sized church on the east side with a congregation of more than 500 people. Like many churches, they haven't had in-person services in months because of the pandemic, and their finances have suffered.
Our revenue is down 27% year-to-date April compared to that same period in 2019.
The church's CFO applied for federal funding under the Paycheck Protection Program.
I'm like, wow, this is great for where we are, and we can certainly benefit from that. So I applied, and we were blessed to receive it.
The $30,000 will help cover utilities and payroll for 10 employees for 2 months.
We're hopeful that this program will certainly position us to get through this season of uncertainty and to keep our staff employed. I mean, they are essentials. We need them.
2 other good-sized churches we introduced you to in April have also been approved to receive Paycheck Protection Program funds, New Era Church and Barnes United Methodist. Barnes has a congregation of 700 people. Sanders Temple's pastor is concerned about other churches who have not been so fortunate.
I am aware out of roughly 30 churches in the second jurisdiction, only 2 churches in our jurisdiction have been approved for the program.
Pastor J. Rashad Jones and the CFO have been working to help smaller inner city churches apply for funding.
Your inner city parishes are going to suffer because those banks are not in our communities and they don't have relationships with the bankers. They're not benefiting from this program. And part of the reason is that some things they didn't have in order.
We've been asking since April 23rd, but the Small Business Administration will not tell Call 6 Investigates how many churches in Indiana have applied or been approved. They did tell us there are a number of reasons a specific borrower can be approved or disapproved. If a borrower feels they have been declined in error, they can work with their lender to appeal the decision. A new survey by Lifeway Research found that 40% of Protestant churches across the country applied for government assistance through the SBA or the CARES Act, and 23% of those churches' pastors reported their applications were accepted. A national group, the Interfaith Alliance, is concerned smaller churches are being shut out, telling us it seems that well-established congregations with significant communal and institutional power have largely navigated the eligibility process more easily than smaller ones. Without clear guidance and intentional engagement, programs like these run the risk of reinforcing existing power structures instead of ensuring that funds reach those most in need. Many churches in central Indiana are not applying because they're concerned about what accepting federal dollars could mean. Sanders Temple is not concerned about that, but they are worried about what they'll do when their federal funds run out on June 26th. They want to stay open and continue serving the more than 500 people who choose their church to worship God. Kara Kenny, RTV6.
Kara will keep on top of that investigation. Thank you so much. The time now is 6:17. Students in Indiana will return to school in a couple of weeks. Mrs. Sanchez returns to her public school at the end of July. And what that looks like for all the different schools will vary across the entire state. In a webinar with educators, State School Superintendent of Instruction Jennifer McCormick emphasized the freedom that local leaders will have to determine how their schools will operate. McCormick says with many schools starting the academic year, some by early August, some expect to hold all or most of classes online. Others, especially in rural areas, plan to return to the brick and mortar buildings setting as soon as possible.
Well, Hiring Hoosiers is committed to connecting you to education and job opportunities to help you rebound from the economic impact of this pandemic. Ivy Tech is offering free classes and training to help grow Indiana's workforce. The courses will cover a variety of subjects to help Hoosiers take the first or the next steps towards earning their degree or certificate. The free offer is for Indiana residents only, and it's limited to 10,000 students. You can find a link to the list of courses in this story. It's all at theindychannel.com. The time now is 6:18. Want to get a check of our forecast on a Storm Team 6 alert day. Todd, what do we need to know?
You know, storms are in the forecast here this afternoon, Lauren, and we're in alert mode for the storms and the potential for them to be strong to possibly severe. Outside of those storms, it's another windy day for us as well. Probably not quite as gusty as yesterday when we had some gusts over 40 miles per hour, but today we're looking at gusts in that 30 to 40 mile per hour range. The severe threat, as I mentioned, arrives this afternoon, and unfortunately, once again, there is going to be the threat of a few isolated tornadoes. Now, it's windy for everybody, even outside of the thunderstorms. And the wind will really start to pick up as the front comes through, and that is going to be during the morning and then eventually afternoon hours as the front passes. So that's when the peak wind gust will take place, and then later on this evening the wind will start to subside. So that's one thing we have to contend with. The other, as I mentioned, is the potential for storms. We're trying to thin the clouds out a bit here this morning, but you do notice there are some storms in Illinois that are already firing up. Non-severe here just north of Champaign, but that's kind of what it's going to look like later on this afternoon in central Indiana. I don't think it's a solid line of storms sweeping across the state. It's going to be more of a broken line as this cold front and area of low pressure start to make their way through the area. So yesterday we were dealing with the outer feeder bands from what was the tropical storm. Today it's an actual front passing through the area that gives us the potential for severe weather. So today the threat of severe weather is probably actually a little bit better than it was yesterday, because there's more forcing as this front comes through rather than trying to produce some severe weather just with the rotation within some of those feeder bands yesterday. So the severe weather thankfully did not materialize yesterday, even though we had some heavy rain and a little bit of lightning. But watch what happens here, especially as I get ready to advance the map past 1 o'clock. Watch how these storms will blossom on the eastern side of the state before they move off into Ohio. And that's why the eastern part of the state has the best threat of severe weather today. The highest threat is going to be wind, followed by a tornado threat, and then the third and smallest threat is going to be the potential for some hail as the system moves through. But a good chunk of the area here from Peru through Anderson, even into Pendleton, down towards Greenfield and Rushville and eastward towards Richmond under the enhanced risk of severe weather. The yellow that you see, that's the slight risk, and then marginal risk off towards the west. So the further west you are, the lower the threat of severe weather for the day today. It's a warm morning. Temperatures right around 80 degrees as we work our way throughout the day today. We're looking at highs that'll get into the mid-80s. But once that front goes through, we're in great shape going forward in this forecast. Lots of sunshine tomorrow. Cooler temperatures a little bit, still 80 degrees, which is seasonable, but the humidity comes down. The weekend in the mid-70s, overnight lows in the 50s will be great sleeping weather, and then the nice weather, it looks like it continues all the way into the middle of next week.
All right, Todd, thank you. And as you're heading out on the roads this morning, no weather issues to contend with for your morning drive. This is a look right now up on the north side, I-465 at Meridian Street, where you can see some winds blowing there. You can see the wire there in the corner of the screen, but traffic is moving along smoothly and there are no delays to slow you down. So it's great news if you're heading out the door at this early hour.
Greenwood's Freedom Springs Aquatic Center is ready to open for the summer on Monday, but with precautions in place to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The Parks Department has implemented enhanced cleaning and disinfecting protocols. Only a maximum of 700 people will be allowed at one time. The facility will open first to season pass holders through July 4th. The center is scheduled to be open through September 7th. We've got much more coming up here on Good Morning Indiana. We'll be right back.
Easy, even Petey can do it.
Here at 6:24, it is time for What's Trending at 6. And we've been highlighting all of these heroes, these frontline workers over the past few months who have gone above and beyond during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we want to take a look at one heart surgeon from Los Angeles. He not only beat COVID-19, he then traveled to New York to help coronavirus patients. He's looking back on his journey here. Dr. Orrin Friedman says he felt an overwhelming obligation to serve the New York community where he finished his fellowship training. He also commends nurses for doing all the hard work to help the most critically ill of patients.
Very
incredible.
Cool. Yeah, and here's another great story. A 103-year-old doctor in Belgium is trying to raise money for research on a coronavirus cure by walking a marathon around his garden in stages, and he's getting around really well. Alphonse Liempolis says that he was inspired by Tom Moore. You may remember that World War II vet who raised millions for Britain's National Health Service by walking laps in his garden. So every day, this gentleman walks 10 laps or 159 yards, and he hopes to finish the marathon on June 30th. So far, he's raised more than $6,800. Good for him.
Good for him. He deserves a shout out, and these two guys deserve a shout out today. Two conservation officers with the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. Rhett Brown on the left, Cole Hollingsworth on the right. They are our hometown heroes. They rescued an 11-year-old girl from drowning after she fell into the Whitewater River in Richmond back on May the 29th. A big thank you to Rhett and Cole. And Todd Clausen, today is a good day to download the Storm Shield app because it is a Storm Team 6 alert day.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That beep that you heard with the alert animation there is the same alert you would hear on your phone if a warning or a watch got issued in your neighborhood. And you won't get all the watches. You can pinpoint it to your exact location. That's what's great about the Storm Shield app. And best of all, it is free. So download that. We're fine as far as storms go here this morning. Here's a live look from downtown to the north with your planner over the next few hours. And you notice the temperatures won't really move a whole lot, but it's warm this morning as we sit right around 80 degrees. But already a few storms in Illinois starting to flare up. We'll miss those. And I'm really targeting the noon hour through about 4 o'clock for the storms to move through central Indiana. And that's when they'll have the best potential to be severe. It's a cold front coming through. And so a lot of these storms are going to flare up during the peak heating of the day. Lots of color on the map. The green, marginal risk, slight risk through Indianapolis, and enhanced risk for severe weather today to the north and east of Indianapolis.
Todd, thank you. Many people are coping with unemployment, furloughs, or just reduced income this year. So it can be frustrating when a business suddenly adds a surcharge to your bill for COVID-19. Working for you, John Mattery shows why this is happening so often so you don't waste your money.
Next time you visit a restaurant, hair salon, or even your dentist, check your bill carefully. Many consumers are being surprised by a COVID surcharge on their bill, as high as $5 a visit. Remember fuel surcharges back when gas was $4 a gallon? Well, get ready to pay a COVID surcharge at more and more businesses. FedEx and UPS are the latest to add a small surcharge due to their extra safety costs right now. Luckily, it's just a few cents. But Business Insider says a growing number of restaurants are starting to add a surcharge of $1 or $2 to bills. And diners are not happy, posting their unhappiness on social media. Doctors and dentist offices and hair salons have also been adding COVID surcharges as high as $10 for all the personal protective equipment and plexiglass dividers they have to buy. But from the dozen that stink file, the fact your health insurance may not pay the surcharge if you're hit with one at the doctor or dentist. It may instead be an out-of-pocket expense, and if money's tight, that stinks. But in the end, someone has to pay for all that plexiglass and gear, and lawyers say surcharges are legal. Before you decide to yell at your dentist, ask them how much all this COVID protection has cost to them. You may decide it's worth paying for. So you don't waste your money. I'm John Mattery. Good Morning, Indiana.
This is Good Morning, Indiana, working for you.
Now Now in Good Morning Indiana on this Wednesday morning, let's take a look at your 6:30 news feed. An arrest has been made in the murder of a woman found dead in a vehicle downtown this past weekend. Metro Police say Ladriel Chapman is accused of killing 21-year-old Denisha Galbraith. Police believe that the woman was killed near West 21st Street and I-65, but her body was found Saturday in a car near the City County building.
The man accused of killing Fishers Police Canine Harley back in November has been sentenced. Richard Garrett pleaded guilty to charges stemming from the incident that started with a police chase. It ended with Garrett shooting and killing Harley. Garrett still faces a murder charge in a separate case in Marion County.
Funeral arrangements have been announced for Chris Beatty. The 38-year-old was shot and killed 2 weeks ago during the weekend violence. A homegoing celebration for the former IU and Cathedral football player will be held this Friday at the Pavilion at Pan Am. Services will be from noon to 6 p.m. and are open to the public. A private funeral for his family will be held Saturday.
The COVID-19 pandemic is forcing some cutbacks at the Children's Museum of Indianapolis. The museum announcing that it's permanently closing its preschool program for 3- and 4-year-olds. The preschool was located inside the Children's Museum. Its curriculum was closely tied with the museum's exhibits and programming. CEO Jeffrey Patchen says that because of COVID-19, many families could not commit to tuition for the upcoming year. Here at 6:30, we want to thank you for joining our team on Good Morning Indiana. We are at the halfway point of your work week.
And it is feeling awfully humid out there. We've been describing it as tropical. So, Raphael, during the commercial break, did you whip yourself up a pina colada?
I did. I even got out of the AC in my living room. I did step outside here in Franklin, and Todd Clausen, it is sticky, it is windy, and it feels like it really wants to rain really bad.
And it will rain, Raphael, especially as we get into the afternoon hours. That'll be our best potential here for isolated showers and storms. Remember, yesterday we had some tropical downpours. We didn't get into the severe weather, thankfully, yesterday, and that was some of the outer bands of the remnants of Cristobal making its way through central Indiana. And Cristobal, by the way, I'm about to share this on my Facebook page, courtesy of Ginger Z from Good Morning America. Cristobal is now the furthest northwest a tropical system has ever made it in North America. So check that out in just a few minutes on my Facebook page. And we're still dealing with some of the remnants of Cristobal and eventually the cold front coming through today. And that's what's going to prompt these thunderstorms, give us the windy conditions throughout the day. With highs today, it'll be in the 80s. Wind gusts sustained this afternoon right around 22 miles per hour, but gaining some strength as the front comes through and gusting up to potentially about 35, 40 miles per hour. So as this front comes through, it will come through anywhere between the noon hour in western locations and then eventually about 3 or 4 o'clock off towards the east. With it, the potential for strong to severe storms with isolated tornadoes going to be a threat as well. So we mentioned it a little earlier, but here's another reminder. Download the Storm Shield app. Alerts for your exact location. It's free. It's in the App Store. We'll talk more about the timeline using TrueCast for you hour by hour coming up in just a few minutes. Lauren.
All right, Todd, thank you. As you're heading out on the roads this morning, here's a look south of downtown I-65, a view near Keystone Avenue. And the construction work there. We have lane shifting on the bridge over Keystone Avenue. So northbound traffic, 2 big curves there for you to pay attention to. Southbound traffic restricted down to 2 lanes. The shoulders reduced there as well. So just use caution. Take it slow as you travel through construction areas throughout the daytime hours as well.
There have been 91 homicides in Indianapolis so far this year. That is up from 64 homicides during this same time in 2019.
So some of the big questions are, what is behind the spike in the violence, and what is the city trying to do to stop it? Alyssa Donovan is live this morning. And Alyssa, a tough problem for the city, which is trying to, of course, handle the situation in the middle of a pandemic and ongoing protests.
That's right, Raphael, and I'm told that the pandemic is impacting the ability for some of those community-based programming to continue. Now, there were 3 homicides just this weekend as well, leaving families to mourn the loss of loved ones. Between 2018 and 2019, there was a slight decrease in homicides in Indianapolis, but now the statistics are showing an upward trend. The city's director of community violence reduction says the pandemic has made it challenging for them to do their jobs as they're not able to run many of those programs they typically do and work with people face to face. However, in coming weeks, several youth and young adult programs will be resuming. A resource fair is also planned, and the goal to connect people with job opportunities and mental health counselors.
really want people to be patient with each other coming back out of COVID-19 restriction and to think before they act.
There has been a major investment in neighborhood-based anti-crime efforts over the past several years. Last year, more than $2 million in grants was awarded to local projects to help curb crime. And right now, the city is working on partnerships with local organizations and local businesses to help add additional programming to help curb the violence in Indianapolis. Reporting live, Alyssa Donovan, RTV6.
Alyssa, thank you for that update. It is 6:34. After more than a week of peaceful protests, these boards blocking some of the windows and doors downtown are starting to come down, and some businesses are reopening, like the commissary barber and barista. The shop's door was kicked in and some equipment was stolen after the protests turned destructive in the last weekend of May. But some places, they're still trying to bounce back, like Michael's Soul Kitchen, which is working with its insurance company to make these repairs.
When it first happened, the shop was there. We were a black-owned business. We have been helping during this whole COVID-19. We have been doing all kind of stuff. So when it happened, it was like, wow.
We were protesting ourselves, so we were a part of it. When it's peaceful, it's great. You know, it sucks the door got kicked in, but when it comes to human lives, a door is nothing.
A lot of people have stepped up to help the businesses impacted by the unrest. Volunteers with City Life helped Michaels clean up the restaurant's damage. And the Mass Ave Merchants Association is hosting a cleanup weekend. The event will be Friday, June 19th and Saturday, June 20th from 9 a.m. until noon. Volunteers will be working on weeding and pruning, cleaning the curb line of debris and picking up trash and mulching the landscape beds. You're asked to bring your own gloves, a roll of sturdy trash bags, and your favorite weeding tools. Games, prizes, and refreshments will be provided to the volunteers, and you can find more information on how to help at theindychannel.com.
A scary moment in the midst of the ongoing protests and conflicting stories about what actually happened. Next, we hear from the woman who shot this video on Monument Circle as police and prosecutors try to sort out what exactly happened.
Store ever, the hunt is over.
Welcome back. We are getting a closer look at some scary moments on Monument Circle Monday night when a minivan hit a group of protesters.
And Lauren, we want to be clear. The video does not show the moments leading up to that incident. And right now, police are working through conflicting reports of what happened that night. Our Cameron Riddle spoke to the woman who shared this video with police and a witness who is questioning the investigation.
Minivan Karen came through and was attacking protesters. If it wasn't motivated by hate, it was certainly, for sure, biased and intentional. And it was because we were protesting for the safety and the quality of life for all Black lives.
All Black lives! Monday night, protest leader Matt Davis was behind a bullhorn and in front of a crowd of protesters walking through the streets of Indianapolis. Over the past 12 days, Davis has gotten used to cars stopping for protesters, but that changed around 7:30 Monday on Monument Circle when a driver of a minivan was caught on video appearing to plow right into protesters.
Injured 3 people, cuts, bruises. It was bad. It felt like a Charleston moment, man. I was so jarred, so scared.
Chan Davis was participating in a peaceful protest with her 16-year-old daughter when she shot the video now being shared online.
That's when I captured this. Like everything just happened like boom, boom. Like it happened really fast. Somehow came around and just, full throttle, just all gas, no brakes, just running through the crowd.
Police tell RTV6 there are conflicting accounts of what occurred. IMPD says the woman immediately called 911 and is cooperating with the investigation. Protester and eyewitness Matt Davis says the driver never stopped and should be charged with a hit and run.
Minivan Karen didn't go to jail. Minivan Karen didn't get charged. Minivan Karen didn't get any consequences. Now, if that was Minivan Keisha, she wouldn't have made it off the circle.
Protesters had already planned to come to downtown Indianapolis today, but the events with the woman driving that minivan only fueled their energy to come back down here and continue to protest. They said they'll be down here again tomorrow. And now with a list of demands to the City County Council and IMPD. Among them is this one with 2 verbs, which is one demand to defund IMPD and refund the community with more resources. Downtown, I'm Cameron Riddle, RTV6.
The time now is 6:41 here on Good Morning Indiana, and the mayor's office is weighing in on the proposal to defund the police. A spokesperson for the mayor released this statement to RTV6, and I'll read it in part. It says, here in Indianapolis, Mayor Hogsett has brought forth a number of significant reforms that have radically reshaped the relationship between the IMPD and the community, from instituting mandatory bias training and creating an IMPD Office of Diversity and Inclusion, to announcing diversion programs and the construction of a new community justice center. The mayor has stepped boldly, it says, forward on criminal justice reform. The statement goes on to say that responsible public safety is an important and necessary component of a functioning society. Our efforts in Indianapolis have sought to uplift the best possible version of that. Now, here at RTV6, we've reported in the past that those in favor of defunding police departments do not want to see police departments eliminated. The goal is to redistribute money towards services that address things like mental health and homelessness, which could help reduce crime. You can find a more in-depth report on this very critical issue, including a graph of IMPD's budget since 2009 at our website, theindychannel.com. It is now time to check your forecast, and our Todd Clausen is keeping a close eye on the radar on this Storm Team 6 alert day. Todd, good morning.
Raphael, good morning. Yeah, we're in alert mode for the potential of severe weather this afternoon, but also in general windy conditions throughout the day today. A cold front is going to be heading our way, and as that cold front approaches, once again, we'll see some wind gusts up to about 40 miles per hour at times, which is enough to cause some damage. I saw some pictures of tree limbs coming down across parts of central Indiana yesterday just from the wind outside of any storms that flared up yesterday. The storms yesterday, mainly just some heavy rainmakers, but today with a cold front coming through and that cold front passing during the peak heating of the day, I do think there'll be enough forcing for a little better potential for some of the storms this afternoon to be strong to severe. Wind by far is going to be the main threat, but can't completely rule out the chance of a few isolated tornadoes this afternoon. It's a pretty small window, though, of severe weather. It's a very fast-moving front, which is good news. The severe threat won't linger, but anytime between about 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock here across central Indiana, there will be the threat of storms. I'll use TrueCast and time it out for you hour by hour coming up in main weather in just a few minutes. But right now, time for a break. Stay with us. We're back in just a few minutes.
We are Value City Furniture.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. It is 6:46 on your Wednesday, and we're keeping a close eye on traffic this morning. Here's a look to the southwest, I-465. Our camera here near Man Road. You can see traffic really picking up both eastbound and westbound in that spot. Everything's moving along up to speed. No crashes here to slow down your commute. Raphael?
And now to the latest on the COVID-19 pandemic in our state. State health leaders are now reporting an increase in the number of COVID-19 deaths as well as new cases. Here are the numbers as we have them. The Indiana State Department of Health reported on Tuesday 23 new deaths from the coronavirus. Now, since the pandemic began, 2,158 Hoosiers have died from the virus. The Department of Health also confirms 430 new COVID-19 cases. So far, 38,033 people in our state have been diagnosed with COVID-19. The state says more than 315,000 people have been tested. 12.1% of them have tested positive for the virus. We do expect an update from the state on these numbers around noon today.
COVID-19 research is taking place around the world, mostly at universities, but some private companies are doing their own studies as well.
And one of the best-known genetics companies is among those finding out that your blood type may have something to do with whether you are at risk for the more severe coronavirus symptoms. Our Kelsey Anderson is joining us this morning with more on what that company is finding out. Kelsey.
If you have type O blood, studies done by 23andMe say you could be less likely to contract the coronavirus. The company 23andMe used more than 750,000 people in their study and found people with type O blood aren't getting the virus as much as people with other blood types. But if you take a look at this chart, you can see it isn't by much, and that's why Dr. Christopher Belcher, Infection Prevention Medical Director at St. Vincent, says this study doesn't mean you are invincible to the virus.
it's still not enough to protect you. You can't walk out and say, I have blood type O, I'm invincible, because those people got sick too. They were less likely to, but the difference was not enough.
Dr. Belcher does want to remind folks to be careful when signing up to be a part of studies like this, because there could be a breach of privacy. If you want to take a closer look at this study, we've got it linked for you over on the IndyChannel.com. Just search 23andMe. I'm Kelsey Anderson, RTV6.
All right, it's a Storm Team 6 alert day for the potential of some strong to severe storms moving through the area later on this afternoon. The storms will have a damaging wind and a tornado threat, so that's why you need to be weather aware that it's going to be windy outside of the storms as well, with some gusts up to 30 to 40 miles per hour as the actual front goes through. It's breezy this morning, but those gusts will pick up as the front passes. That is going to be between about 12 and 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock in western Indiana, 6 o'clock on the eastern side of the state. And you notice those arrows, they kind of change direction as well, showing that that front will be moving through. This morning, we don't have any issues here in central Indiana. It's warm and it's muggy with temperatures right around 80 degrees, but the clouds are in the process of thinning out. But you do notice a storm just across the state line there. We're just north of Champaign and south of Kankakee along Interstate 57, non-severe. And then you also notice a few more storms in central Illinois flaring up, but it's not a solid line of thunderstorms heading our way. We have the cold front that'll come through, and then we also have this area of low pressure, which is giving the counterclockwise rotation there to the clouds, and also the rainfall coming through later on this afternoon. So while there could be an isolated shower before we get to the noon hour, it's really during the afternoon hours that these storms flare up on an isolated basis. Again, it's not going to be a sweeping line of storms across the whole state. So not everybody is going to see rain throughout the day today or thunderstorms, but where it does storm, it will come down quite heavy with the potential of some severe weather. I'm going to back TrueCast up just a little bit here for you, and you see by 4 o'clock the storm's really starting to pop in eastern Indiana before they make their way off into Ohio. And the reason why they'll be a little bit stronger to the east is because they'll be coming through during the peak heating of the day, and that's also why the Storm Prediction Center has that area of brown across northeastern Indiana and far eastern portions of the state. That's an enhanced risk for severe weather. It's a slight risk from Lafayette into Indianapolis down towards the Bloomington area, and then further off to the east, not as much of a threat of storms. Winds by far the main threat. Thunderstorms, no thunderstorms. Winds an issue for the day today. The isolated tornado threat, and there could be the potential for some hail in a couple of these storms, but it's not the largest threat that we face here throughout the day today. Here are those temperatures. We're hovering right around 80 degrees. It's extremely muggy out there this morning and uncomfortable. Temperatures won't really do a whole lot throughout the day today, only going up another couple degrees for your afternoon high. But once we get past today, we settle into a really, really nice stretch of weather with plenty of sunshine, cooler temperatures, lower humidity. The temperatures are even cooler at night, making for nice sleeping weather. So just get through today. Make sure you stay weather aware and stay with RTV6 here throughout the afternoon hours as these storms, Raphael, make their way through the area.
Todd, thank you so much. Former NFL linebacker Emmanuel Acho is working to reshape how we all think about race with his new online show, Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. Coming up today on Good Morning America, he'll be live to talk about the show and why he believes these conversations are the way to move forward. The time now is 6:52. You're watching Good Morning Indiana.
RTV6 app on your phone or streaming device.
The 70s, Lauren and Meredith. Yes, those were a time period when people were alive, and the music of Lionel Richie could soon be turned, why not, into a Disney musical. The music legend is working with Disney to turn his songbook into a movie musical. It would be an original story built around the classic songs. The working title could be All Night Long. So on this Wednesday, let me just go into my Lionel Richie library by saying hello to a pair of ladies who are really truly pros.
Is
How
it
about
we
that?
you're
3
looking
titles.
for?
What's that?
I said, is it we you're
Always.
looking for?
Always. Good stuff.
All right, so we talked about this a little bit yesterday, and it is out now, the trailer for the long-awaited third movie in the Bill and Ted series.
Yeah, we also know when that movie will be in theaters, which means the Gen Xers will be bringing back some old catchphrases. Take a look.
Bill and Ted, what have you got to say for yourselves?
Be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes.
All right, well, Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter are back together as now middle-aged Bill and Ted. In the movie Bill and Ted Face the Music, the two are writing a song that's going to save the world. The movie is scheduled to be out in theaters August 21st. My birthday, I think they planned that.
Well, there you go, Lauren. So. Now you have plans all
now
set.
I have birthday plans. Just what I want to do. All right, let's get a check of our
I'll take you there, and this is... Yeah, same weekend as the 500 as well, potentially here in August. So, all right, outside right now, we're dealing with warm and muggy conditions. Storm threat this afternoon. Some storms could be strong to severe. There's a slight risk and an enhanced risk across parts of the area. The storms will go through by evening, and then as we work our way into the coming days, plenty of sunshine with lower humidity, more comfortable temperatures.
All right, Todd, thanks. We're back here in 25 minutes and throughout Good Morning America.
Have a great day.